Hello, my loves. Confidence is, well, it was my childhood dream growing up. And while I know some of my new friends, my new commenters that I got over this weekend in particular, may not be needing any help in the confidence arena whatsoever, I know that I definitely did, and a lot of people on this channel do. So this is a topic that I am really excited to share with you, and I want to share with you 6 big learnings that I've found in the past few years that hopefully will be able to help you too. And I want to start by saying that my definition of confidence, my word for it is self-stability. So we're not looking for confidence that is faked, that feels inauthentic, that can just get us by. That's a good skill in and of itself, but it's not one that we really want to teach or hang on to long term. What we want is that self-stability, radiance. I want radiance for you, that calming, confident base level that you can build on top of. So you go into every scenario knowing exactly who you are, what you want, what you're there for, what you're working towards, and that you long term free up the space, clear up all your confusion and stuck energies in you so that you can then be there for other people and to serve other people. Because I know from experience you definitely can't do that when you're so confused about yourself to begin with. So the first thing that I want to share with you is faith was a big one for me. So I took a pretty, I guess it was a strategic route. It was one that was definitely different from everyone I knew, definitely different to my character growing up, given I was such a shy and I want to stay hidden child. But by the time I finished my A levels, instead of going to uni, like a lot of the teachers pressured not just me but my family, like saying that my dad wasn't a great dad, for example, for letting me not go to uni, I instead decided to go to the apprenticeship route. And I managed to get an apprenticeship at Google. It was the only one I wanted. I did it more out of survival. Google didn't really mean much to me at the time. I respected it as a big brand. I knew it was big and powerful, but I didn't have any affinity with any kind of brands. I wasn't caught up in that growing up. Same with celebrities. I had my own issues to worry about rather than daydreaming about those kinds of things. But I figured that if I didn't know what I wanted to do, and if I go to Google, then that's going to open a lot more doors and just buy me some time. And I was elated that I got in despite the odds. I mean, for starters, there are a small amount of people and they were only looking and only advertised to people in London. I live 2 hours outside of London. That's a whole story in and of itself, but I was so grateful that I got in. When I did, a lot of things just opened up in me, just the courage and boldness it took to do something like that. That's actually a tip in itself. Be courageous, do the courage thing, even if it doesn't feel like you, even if it feels very foreign, even if you think you can't sustain it, just do it and allow yourself to recoil afterwards. But maybe that's a tip, I'm not sure. But for definite, get yourself out there to begin with. And I found during that year, I was really hoping that I didn't know whether I'd like it or not. I didn't really care. I was like, it's for 15 months. I can bail if I want to, if it's really that horrific. To be honest with you, on a personal level, it was really horrific. I had a lot of stuff going on at that time. The actual company and the people who I worked with, lovely, but just on a personal level, I found out a lot about what I didn't want to do. And I knew before a lot of what I didn't want to do. I was really hoping for some stuff, some clarity on what I did want to do, but I didn't. So I left that year feeling even more dazed and confused and defeated, and all that confidence and feeling like the world was working with me to actually get me into Google suddenly vanished. And I was like, oh, well, that's obviously not me then. I'm not meant for these things. I might be able to get myself in the door, but obviously I'm not made of the stuff that keeps me there. And I didn't resonate with a lot in the work either. And I was like, well, maybe I'm just not meant for that. I just had so many questions and no idea of how I was going to answer it. I knew all these things that I didn't want to do. I knew that I had little energy. Again, another whole story. I had health issues and I had no clue what to do. And the thing that saved me at the end of that year was I found a bit more clarity in my faith. So I think I already have faith enough to get me to make those bold steps in in getting to Google in the first place. But it was faith in a bit deeper, a bit, no matter what it looks like right now, Talia, you're doing all right. It's going to be okay. And this for me came in meditation. And I think prayer is another one that's really easily accessible, and that could be like 10 seconds. Nature walks do it too. Any way of like connecting to God, but I certainly didn't resonate with the word God. I still don't know if I do, but just this sense of, I think to me, God is just finding that space of you, that small space, everyone has it, even if it's been clouded, that just moment where you're like, okay, I feel okay. And for me, meditation helped declutter a lot of that. I had the Headspace app. I highly, highly recommend it, even if you just try it for a little while. The interesting thing I found was that I did it for 30 days. I thought I'll trial it. I did it on my commute. I had a very long commute to get into work, so I already had the time carved out. But when I didn't, I did it for 1 minute. So just do the thing that gets you through doing it every day. Don't worry about how long you do it for. But the interesting thing was I did it for 30 days and I did find some help in those 30 days. But when I stopped doing it, because I thought, oh, well, it's not really doing too much, that's when I felt the impact. And that's what I found with a lot of things. You don't necessarily know it's for you when you're doing it, but when you stop doing it, you can notice a huge difference. So just finding some way to connect every day to that space of, okay, I've got me. Even if everything falls apart, I'm okay. Like I've got just, yeah, some way of connecting to God. Or for me, I found that within myself, but maybe for you it is God or praying or nature or a pet. I try and not do it in a person. Relationships can be quite tricky. It can be hard to distinguish what's your baggage, what's theirs, what the scenario is. And if you're anything like me, I was definitely not at the point of being able to understand anything of relationships. So for me, finding it within myself was what I needed. As I said, I was craving self-stability, and so I wanted to be able to do it with myself and by myself. So that's the first one, or maybe first 1.5. Be bold and find some kind of faith or ritual, or I mean, I've found a lot more recently some rituals can help as well, but again, that probably wouldn't have appealed to me when I started. To me, I had a lot of stress and I just wanted to calm my mind, and I was very into productivity books and biology, biohacking your body and natural health, and to me, meditation made sense with that. Calm your mind and then the rest will follow, and maybe that's for you too. You could just sit in silence for 1 minute every day, and that is meditation. Just keep that container of, I'm going to sit for 1 minute, let whatever come up, and honestly over time you'll realize, oh, actually my mind's getting quieter, or I'm not as scatty. So that's another way to do it as well. You don't have to call it meditation. Meditation isn't this big label spiritual thing. Definitely not. As I say, to me it felt more like a biohacking tool. It felt more like being able to watch my mind a bit, being able to understand myself a bit more. So that's my first tip. The second one I think bolts on, and I'd say, especially if you can keep this faith going, the benefit is keeping an open mind. And my God, you can get so many opportunities off the back of this. As I said, when I first started applying to Google, I had literally my whole story was, I had to overshoot it. So my whole story was my friends had loads of hobbies that they really enjoyed doing. They've been doing stuff since they were little. They were really good at certain subjects. They knew which subjects they liked. They knew which ones they didn't like. And I didn't know any of that. I couldn't even tell you what my favorite color was. I did not know myself whatsoever, and that scared me shitless, because how the hell was I supposed to survive in adulthood if I didn't know any of the basics? And I'm looking around and everyone's got some kind of angle that they can play on in their uni applications and things like that. So my way of dealing with stuff sometimes is, I've got so much competition in the uni game, and also there are other factors why I didn't choose it, and maybe if that's of interest to you, then I can go into that. Like my whole decision-making process, I've been told, is very different, very unique. But I chose not to do that and instead go into an apprenticeship where I could kind of do things my way and get out of that structure, that expectation structure. And that can really help to give you an open mind. You're kind of then creating your own game as you go along, and you can stand out in a smaller pool of people. And that's also why I wanted to do an apprenticeship, not a local one near me. That, to me, I'll be honest with you, didn't signal much of the status that I was hoping to get. I was really ambitious, but I didn't have much self-belief. So going for Google was kind of like, if I can just get that on my CV, then at least I can convince people further down the line and maybe get my confidence through that. And it was a total survival technique for sure. And I'm really glad I did it. But as I said, I had no self-worth with it. I had no sense of, yeah, I'm good enough to work here. It was just a sense of, this has to work because I don't want to be suffering my whole life. I don't want to feel behind my whole life. And that was my biggest driver. I don't want to feel like I'm always playing catch up and always having to pay the bills. And like, that's not what my life is going to be about, is what I decided. So you have to keep an open mind and allow yourself to surprise yourself. Just put yourself out there and do it. And if it's not meant for you, the world will shut it down. If it is meant for you, like in my scenario, the world will, you'll literally feel that things won't make sense. As I said, like the apprenticeship wasn't advertised to me, and people were telling me when I went in for initial interview screenings, I can't have people who live outside an hour of central London, and I was 2 hours out. And like, so all these things, and it kind of feels as though things were conspiring to get me there. And that's the benefit of when you choose to do something really bold. If you've got kind of like a bigger desire, that's your desire and you are more meant for it. That's like your inner wisdom coming out, saying you are more meant for this. You're not going to go, like I wouldn't, if I'd try to be bold and kind of like, okay, I want to get where I want to be, like that bigger sense of self-stability or confidence, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to suddenly have the idea of, oh, start acting. It won't be random. If you have a feeling to do it, that's not random. It is a sign to go towards it. You won't get something random because, yeah, it just, there are so many things that you could pick. You don't get a million thoughts every single second. You know, like it's, what's meant for you is made for you, and it shows up in your environment. And I found that to be really, really true. So keep an open mind. And yeah, this is like a great thing as well, because when I left Google, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started getting the sense that I wanted to work in data, but I'd had more of a creative background, and I was like, shit, I don't know how I'm going to get into it. Other people have gone to uni, they're like really smart. And then I ended up having an opportunity, a great opportunity, where I was kind of indirectly working for Google come to me. They asked me to interview. And then, so my original barrier was, oh, I don't want to interview or apply for data jobs because I'm gonna get lost in the sea of people who are way better than I am. And then with them coming to me, it took that out. It was like, well, you asked me here, so if I screw up really badly, which I actually kind of did, I was able to still keep going in the moment, because I was like, I'm not embarrassed because you asked me here, and I thought, hey, I'll take a shot. So keep an open mind. And then I got the job after that, and it set off a wonderful chain of events. So great. And that's why keeping an open mind is amazing. Just even if it doesn't make sense, do it. Often the illogical stuff is the most beneficial. Logic can really screw you up sometimes. And I'm saying that as a very logical person. So the next thing I want to do and share with you is strive for internal clarity. I think we touched on this a bit in the intro, but you don't want confidence that is showy and baseless and people can see through it. What we want for confidence is self-stability, self-knowing, the ability to, no matter how fearful we get, no matter how weird and wonderful our dreams are, we have the ability to go, screw it, I'm trying it, and I'm going to catch myself no matter what. So just keep that in mind as you go along. Don't get confused or lost in all the bells and whistles and what other people are doing, and other people look like they have confidence. You never know what's going on inside other people. Just really focus on, can I keep sustaining myself? Can I keep holding myself and supporting myself? So keep your aim true, and that's going to get you real authenticity, and that's what we want, really. We don't want to charm people or trick people. We just want to live what's best for us, take chances on ourselves, and just do the best that we can and be honest. Another one is patience. So let things take its time. This is a really hard one for me even now. I ended up quitting a job that was honestly amazing in every single way, apart from the fact that it was in corporate. And the last things that I wanted was to be able to scale and be in control of my own rate of growth and my own rate of money. And that's just inherently not something corporate can do. But I had such a great deal at the job that I was at, and so many people I adored, and the job that I loved, and just everything about it. But something I just ended up was like, I don't know why I've got this feeling, but I'm just going to quit and see what happens. And I later found out, or it became really clear, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Again, be bold. I never thought I'd be here. But a year in, I'm only now just starting to gain momentum, and it's been a really, really hairy and rewarding year. It's just been crazy. But things do take its time, and often when things look like they're going wrong, that's actually when they're going right. It's just kind of old stuff coming up and purging, and you just got to keep making the decision to stick with yourself, to keep going, to keep exploring, and just hanging on another day. Even if you can't make a step out, even if you can't grow, just hold the position. Decide you're not going back, no matter what, no matter how bad it gets. We're not going back. And just, this is where faith comes in a lot. You've just got to let things take its time, and it does create a lot of space for opportunity, and you just never know what's going to come around the corner. As I said, when I got that offer to start in a data job, that took some time for me to be ready. If I got that straight out of leaving Google, I probably would have said no, because I didn't want anything to do with Google itself. I wanted to try a different brand. I actually didn't want to go agency side. But 9-10 months down the line, I was able to let that go, and I learned a lot about myself through a startup experience that I'd had. And so things do just naturally fall into place, and you just got to trust time, and it's not going to feel, I think this is where people get hung up. Patience, they have this image of people kind of being content and sitting happy and able to trust, and that's great if you can get there. But for me, patience sometimes is really frustrating, and that's okay. Just don't make actions based on that frustration. Just find that faith, practice, and that calming, and again, just hold the pose of, I'm not going to go back. I don't know how to go forward right now, so I'm just gonna stay still. There's a beauty in staying still. And then you're kind of like holding that space for your future self as well. You're just buying one more day for, I don't know, maybe in a week's time you're going to get a really big spout of inspiration that you need. You never know when it's going to come. The next one I also found in my job as well. The first few months when you start something, just get your head down and learn the skill. And this doesn't have to be job specific, because you can learn soft skills as well, whatever it is. Just get very thorough about it. I'll do whatever I can to feel that sense of stability, to just feel like I'm not failing. That's always been my biggest thing. I just don't want to fail. I don't need to be the best at something. I just don't want to be the last. And I get so caught up in this bubble of, if I just keep going, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to be last, because a lot of people who are last are kind of just giving up, not putting one foot in front of the other. So if I just focus on at least putting one foot in front of the other, having a bit of humility and keeping going, then I'll get there. And we do this just so we can make sure we're keeping everything afloat. And maybe there's a bit of a control aspect here as well, just knowing where everything is, getting signposted. It's like getting acquainted with I don't know, if you went on vacation and you're at a big house and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna have a wander around and be like, that's where the bathroom is if I need it, that's where the kitchen is if I need it, that's where the lounge is if I want to sit down. So just kind of getting a bit more logical, just knowing what's where, so that you can shut down that safety side, that high alert side of you that is in there for a lot of anxious people. And then what happens if you just really dedicate yourself to, I just need to know where everything is. Don't worry about everything else. Don't worry about the bells and whistles. Don't worry about being radiant or confident or the best at anything. Once you've hit that place of, okay, I know my shit, that's where you can go, right, forget it. I'm going to trust that all of this has now integrated into my body. I know this by heart. You can let go of that. You don't have to hold on to that. And when you let go of that, it leaves space for the magic of you, your own uniqueness, your own personal stamp on things. And you can do things your way. And this is basically first step, learn the rules. Second step, break them. Because when you break them, that's when you get creativity. But you have to do the first step. You have to know the landscape first. You have to know not to tread on people's toes. Because again, we don't want to hurt people in the process. We don't want to dampen down people's respect and authority that they've spent a while building up. We want to be holistic here. And this is why it's really important to learn the landscape that already exists first, and then know how to plug yourself in and on top of that. Again, I'd recommend, or the way I did it that worked really well, was I wasn't striving to be the best. I was just trying to cope. I spent so much energy trying to learn everything, learning the landscape, and I was like, I can't keep this up full time. I'm not going to grow if I don't. I'm not going to be able to take on the responsibility to show that I can move up to the next step. So that's when you have to kind of go, okay, well, I'll let all that structure go. I'll trust that I know everything now. And then that's where we do it so we can streamline, basically, so we can make things easier for ourselves and just free up that little bit of space for more growth. And I found this is actually where the magic happens. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that they have to learn the rules, they have to learn the landscape, and they find, oh, that really works. And then they don't want to let go of it. But you have to let go of it in order to create more space and learn new things. And then that's going to bring a lot of opportunities into your field. That's going to scare you. And then you're going to need that second wave of learning the landscape again. And then you're going to drop that, alchemize it, and then all these new opportunities and desires are going to come up. And it's a loop. And that, I believe, or I've found, is the same for everything in my life. It's this loop of kind of reining in and letting go. And it's really beautiful because it just brings so much. Like, I didn't know I was doing this, but in that job that I took, the data job, I just didn't want to sink. Especially after the first year at Google, I was like, my self-worth is so low. I don't want to screw up. I don't know anything about data. I've got to catch up. I don't know what I'm doing, so I didn't go to uni, and I'm around people who've been to uni, like in engineering, and just really smart people, and I was like, I'm so behind. And so I just focused on myself and doing the best work that I could. When I started doing things my way and taking on the ownership and responsibility of what I was doing and freeing up space for myself to do things my way, still within the reins of the demands of my manager, etc., etc. So again, not just saying screw it to everyone, still doing it considerately. That year, just crazy things happened, and I was still in that low self-worth bubble. So when people were giving me loads of praise, like I got 6 company-wide shout outs, and then I got bonuses way bigger than anyone else, to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna share what I got. I had people saying to me, giving me feedback of like, I don't know how you do it. People just want to do things for you. And all of this was like, huh? I'm literally just trying to I feel like I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Like, I'm around so many smart people. I feel like I'm barely living. But when you start putting in you create your own formula, that's when you really shine, and you don't even realize you're doing it. And for me, it was really nice to get that outside feedback. And it was the outside feedback that broke my bubble of, you're not failing, you're actually thriving. You've gone down your own route. Actually, there's this really beautiful thing that I heard recently, and it was like, the sun doesn't know that it's the one producing light. So everyone's going, oh my God, the light's so beautiful, thank you. And the sun's like, what? The light just exists. And sometimes we just really can't see our own self-worth, and it's still in there. And then that links back to my first point about faith. It's always there, even if you can't really see it. So yeah, my bonus tip is just do it for you. Do it so you can feel stable. Do it so you can just do it for survival, is where I got to. And then you'll build confidence through that. And that's, I think, was a really nice thing about external validation really can help. So I wouldn't take the advice, especially when you're first starting out, of don't get external validation from other people. I really needed to hear feedback from other people going, hey, look, you're doing right, to then give myself permission to slow down. What you don't want to do is get stuck in that I need to keep pleasing other people. You don't want to make them your source of anything. Just kind of go, oh, I'm now getting enough feedback where I know I'm doing really well. I can now trust that I've alchemized how to please other people on top of everything else. And now I can move on. I can now adjust my self-image. I can use that to my self-image, because if you ignore it, you're going to handicap yourself and you're going to be miserable as well. So again, this kind of gentle ebb and flow of reining in, taking control where you can, not getting bogged down in the things that you can't control. That's where humility comes in. And at some places, alchemizing it and letting it go and letting yourself grow and being seen more. So I hope this helped. I know that it was a long journey for me, but these tips have been life-changing for me. And if you have any questions, please comment them below. I am happy to help. If you have any video requests as well, please do like and subscribe if this was valuable. And I have some offerings in the description box if you would like to check them out. Until next time, my loves, thank you very much.